Hi, I'm a soft skills trainer from the Department of Career Planning and Development, and today's topic is about public speaking. Let's get started. Do you know what is the biggest fear for us humans after death and snake bite? Yes, it's public speaking. Everyone dreads that, no matter at what stage or what level the person is working at. Everyone dreads public speaking at some point or the other. So today we are going to be talking about some tips that would actually help you with how to manage yourself and how to take care of the fears that you will be facing in public speaking, the preparations that you need to make when you are speaking in public. So the first thing that you need to understand about becoming a good public speaker is research about the topic. Now there are two parts to it. One, if the topic has been given to you, then you make sure that you research every bit about it. Make sure that you are able to gather as much information about the topic as possible, because you don't want to be in a state where somebody asks you a question in the audience and you're at a loss. That would actually spoil the entire impression of your public speech. So make sure that you gather as much information about the topic as possible, and in case you are the one who's making the content, that make sure that the topic that you choose is something that the audience relate to or they are able to understand, because if the topic is not understood by the audience, they might not be even interested in the speech that you're going to be giving. So make sure that you are able to research about the topic and the title of the topic very thoroughly. The next thing that you need to take care of is focus. The other thing that you need to take care of is focus. Well, you need to help your audience understand and grasp the message. So if you're using any anecdotes or quotes or metaphors or any kind of humorous or jokes or anything that you wish to use in your speech, make sure that the focus doesn't stray away from the main topic. Take the example of Donald Trump or Modi ji. Whenever they actually use some kind of quotation or some kind of humor, they always make sure that it is well connected to the main point. It doesn't go astray, and it focuses the audience back on and helps the audience understand what exactly is it that you're trying to say. So always keep your focus in mind when you're preparing a speech. The next thing is organize ideas logically. Now, as a speaker, there are times when ideas might come to your mind at an orbit sense from all directions, where you are trying to grasp something and you are the idea is coming to your head and then you are just presenting it the way it's coming. Don't do that. What you need to do is basically prepare beforehand and make sure that you have it written down in front of you in a logical order, so that when you start talking to the audience who are listening to you, they don't get disconnected in their minds. They should be able to understand what you're saying. They should be able to connect. So the logical set of ideas that you give them makes them connect, because they are not reading what you're reading. They are not seeing or visualizing what you're seeing or visualizing. They are just connected to your sound and your face, right? So if they are able to hear you and see you, that's the picture that they're making, and the picture is being made as you speak. So if it is illogical, it won't make sense. So make sure that it is in a very logical order, the information that you're providing them, so that the picture that's made in their head is correct and the information passes through as you want it to pass through. The next is employ quotations, facts and statistics. Now, if you are supporting your speech with any kind of statistics or facts, make sure that they are correct. If they are not correct, or if you have not thoroughly analyzed the whole thing, then it might actually fall flat on the face, because there might be somebody in the audience who might get up and say that your facts are wrong, or this quotation that you just spoke out is incorrect, and that would be a very bad impression. Even if they don't speak out, the audience might feel that you're not prepared, and that is something that you don't want the audience to feel, because when you are giving this public speech or presentation, you want the audience to be interested in what you say, and They're wanting to listen to you because they think that you're going to bring them something new or different or something interesting. The same thing said in an interesting manner. But if you give them false information or incorrect information that they know to be untrue, then they will lose interest in it. The next thing that you need to take care of is you need to master your quotations and metaphors. So basically, if you are using your metaphors or quotations or facts, or what if you're quoting somebody, basically make sure that you quote them word for word. Do not mismatch your words with the quotation, or don't just go halfway through the quotation and then because that would actually lose the meaning of the whole quotation. If you're quoting somebody, if you're using a metaphor or something, make sure that you are doing that correct, and you are not mispronouncing or eliminating any part of it. What else? Okay. If you're a good public speaker, or if you want to become a good public speaker, you need to know how to tell a story. See, if you don't have expression, or if your subject that you're talking about is in a form where it is very boring, then the audience, again, you will not be able to retain the audience. So what you should do is, you should be able to tell it in a form of a story. Speak with the voice modulation and intonation, the way you are trying to tell a story, that the information that you're trying to give them is coming right from the heart. It's not coming from somewhere where you've crammed the information or read about it and you're just delivering it. Would you be more interested in somebody reading out an article or telling you a story? Of course, the story, right? So make sure that when you are delivering in publicly a presentation or speech, it should sound like a story, so that people get interested. The voice, intonation, the modulation, everything should be a part of it, so that it is in the form of a story and people are really interested because they are connected to your voice. If your voice is not modulating, then it sounds very robotic and it sounds very boring. The next point is start strong and close stronger. What I mean by that is, whenever you start a speech or a presentation, make sure that you are delivering the starting of the speech with great impact. The more impactful your speech is, the more interested this audience is going to be in whatever you have to say. In order to grasp the attention of an audience, it just takes a few seconds, the way you start your speech. If you don't start your speech well, then the audience might lose interest in the whole speech altogether. So if you start your speech with an anecdote or a joke or a quote or something that actually enthralls them and gains their attention, then that means you're on a good start. And equally so, you need to close it. Because see, the retention of the human mind is not more than 45 minutes, let's say like 15 minutes at an average. So if a person is speaking for 15 minutes continuously, the listener would not actually listen to every word carefully. They would be interested. What grasps their attention is the start of the speech, and what lives with them is the end of the speech. So what they carry out with them is the end of the speech. So when you are speaking, the start and the closing, they make quite a good impact about your speech. In the middle, I don't say just don't speak sense or speak gibberish. Make sure that you give them facts and whatever you need to give them in the middle, but start and end should be very interesting. Okay, the next one is incorporate humor. Now that's very important. If you don't incorporate humor, then whatever you are speaking would be very, very boring. So humor is very important because it kind of gives a mental break to the person, and because it gives a mental break to the person, it the comic timing that you have kind of like gets the audience interested and engaged. The next thing that you need to take care about is your pace at which you're speaking, and there should be variety in your volume and your your vocal pace. When I say that, I mean, again, it should be like a storytelling thing. Your voice should not be monotonous, because if it is monotonous, the person listening to you, it might as well as, speaking to a computer or a machine. And you're not that. You're a human being. So put that touch in there. Punctuate your words with gestures. So, for example, if you're talking something, giving them a big idea, make sure your hands go like this. And if you're talking about something minuscule or small, make sure that your hands go something like this or this. That actually means that, that kind of like connects your body language to your speech, and that engages the audience as well. Use the stage wherever, because you're standing, whenever you're giving a speech, make sure that you use the space. Don't stand behind a podium or hide behind a podium. Make sure that you're moving around. If you're moving around, the audience's eyes follow you, and because the eyes follow you, they kind of don't lose interest in what is happening in front of them. If you're sitting at one place, again, it becomes monotonous for them. So the more you move, when you're using the space around you, they kind of get more interested and they don't get bored. So in order to gain interest of the audience, move around. Complement your speech with visual aids if you can. Now, in case you have a PPT, that would be wonderful. In case you have any kind of prop, that would be more than wonderful. Basically, the idea is for, you see, this audience need to see a change in the way they are looking at you. They need to see something else apart from you. They need to see color. The more color, the more visual effects you give, the more sound effects you give, the better. Because if you do that, there is a variety for the audience to understand from, and they understand it better. Visual effects always gets the audience to understand your point of view better, because it kind of complements your speech and your content. So always make sure that you use visual aids to enhance your speech or drive your point of view home. Now, before you actually get started with the whole speech thing, you need to analyze your audience first. When I say analyze your audience, now, for example, you've been given a topic to speak about economics, right? Or the world economy, let's say. And now the audience that is sitting in front of you is labor class, right? So if people are from that background who don't actually, the world economy doesn't mean anything to them, and you're giving a speech to them, it won't matter to them. So make sure that the kind of audience that you're catering to before you start with your speech, you need to make sure that you analyze what kind of audience that is, what is the level of their understanding, what is it that they are looking for, how exactly are you going to be speaking, what manner of speech you're going to be adopting, what style of speech you're going to be adopting in order to connect to them. Is your topic actually going to make sense to them? So, or if you have to deliver that topic in that and that is necessary, then how exactly are you going to deliver that topic to them so that they're able to understand it? And then it actually will help you connect to the audience. And once you get connected to the audience, that actually takes your speech to a public speaking skills to a new level. Connecting to the audience doesn't mean just, giving a to and fro question and answer thing. No. So, connecting to the audience means either before the entire speech starts, to get comfortable, what you can do is just stand there, before the actual speech starts or the presentation starts, introduce yourself, get to know the audience. If you don't know the audience already, just ask them their name, ask them where they're from, ask them their interests and hobbies. What it'll do is it'll basically help the audience connect to you. They will know you and you will know them. So then when you're talking to them, you will feel more connected and they'll feel more connected to you. If the audience is alienated, then the connection is broken. So connect to the audience by asking them questions. While you are giving a speech or a presentation, engage with them. Ask them a couple of questions so that they start answering you. And when they start answering you, that is how the connection begins. So that is how the audience feels that, yeah, they are and that there's our audience retention also, that they are actually listening to what you're saying. So basically you need to interact with the audience. Conduct a Q&A. That's the best way of actually interacting with the audience, where you are asking them questions or you're asking them to ask you questions. So whatever you do, basically you get them to speak to you rather than you speaking to them. So now that you're connected to the audience, you need to lead the discussion. Don't get the audience to lead the discussion. You should lead the discussion. What I mean by that is, once you start the Q&A session with the audience, so they might actually start asking you questions that are not even connected to the topic that you're speaking about. And that would actually deviate from the focus. So instead of letting the audience dictate how the presentation or the speech will go, you should actually take charge and control of the whole thing and make sure that you are directing what is happening, not the other way around. And always obey time constraints, because it might happen that you're not the only speaker and there might be other people who are actually looking forward to speaking on the stage and they're sharing the stage time with you. And if you hog the stage time, then the other people might think, whatever they've prepared for, they'll have to kind of like hurry, and that doesn't go well. That's not professional. So if you've already rehearsed what you're going to be saying beforehand, that would actually work for you, because then you will be in the time constraints of 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever time has been given to you to speak on the stage. Don't over indulge in speaking, or don't kind of like make sure that you take over somebody else's time, because the presentation is only lasting for a certain number of hours, and it has already been considered that the audience who are going to be sitting there are going to be listening to you only for a certain time. Do you remember that time when we used to have our annual functions and we used to have some chief guests speaking for long hours? How irritating that was? Yeah, well, something like that. Don't go continuously speaking and hogging the stage time. So make sure that you respect the time constraint that's been given to you. That is professionalism. So you need to make sure that you craft your introduction really well. How you introduce yourself to the audience really makes a difference, because if you don't, then the audience might take you too casually, and they might, you might not be able to direct the conversation the way you want to. And if it is too formal, then the audience might be too scared or too reluctant to talk to you or engage with you. So make sure the introduction that you give should actually talk about your credentials, should talk about the achievements that you've made, or talk about something about yourself that actually ends up making the audience respect you and look up to you and understand that they need to listen to you. If you're not able to do that, the audience won't respect you, and the public speaking part is not going to happen as fluently as it should. You need to exhibit a sense of confidence and poise when you are speaking in front of audience. When I say that, I simply mean that you have to enact the fact that you are very confident, even if you're not feeling confident. Now, this comes when you're actually practiced. If you practice in front of your friends, your family, if you don't have anybody to practice with, practice in front of a mirror. If you're able to do that, then you will be prepared. And if you're prepared, that means that you will not get nervous. Even if you get nervous, you can always fall back on your knowledge, right? But if you're not prepared, that nervousness shows, and the audience has a sense of understanding and, sensing the fact that the speaker is now getting nervous, and they start losing interest, or the speech would not go, the presentation would not go the way it is supposed to go. So in order for the audience to take you seriously and listen to whatever you have to say, you've got to portray that you are feeling very confident. You should be prepared to handle unexpected issues smoothly. Now, when I say that, I simply mean that you should be able to understand that there might be technical issues that could go wrong. For example, there might be a power cut in the middle of your speech. There might be some kind of an issue where the projector goes dead. Okay, so I mean, For example, if you based your entire speech or your presentation on a video, and after that video you're supposed to give an entire speech because you need to show the video in order to connect with the audience, and then you find out when you play the video in the speech during the presentation that the sound's not working, what do you do then? You need to be prepared enough. So if you have already made your preparations beforehand, you kind of you'll be able to give them a gist of what is in the video, or maybe you can share the video on WhatsApp, or you can have something or the other that can actually work for you in that situation. Don't panic. Now let me go ahead and share a story with you guys from my career. Well, what happened one day was I was into corporate training and I was supposed to deliver this speech in one of the organizations. But what I stupidly did was I forgot the connector that connects your laptop to the projector. So the organization where I went to did not have that either. That meant that the employees who had taken this precious time out of their working schedule to sit through my presentation and understand the topic that I was supposed to teach them, now were not going to be looking at the projector, but going to be sitting there for 2 hours straight without actually me being able to present the entire presentation. So what was I supposed to do with the paid hours that I was getting where my projector wasn't working because I had forgotten a small connector? The good thing that I did was because I make because I make such preparations beforehand, I had photostated the PPT and kept copies, 5-6 copies of it with myself for such situations, because I was expecting the projector to pop off, not that I forget the connector. So I distributed these copies to 2 people each in the room so that they were able to have a look at the contents of the PPT, and then I delivered my entire lecture. So that meant that their time was not wasted, and they actually gained what they had come to gain out of the presentation. And I did not panic at the last minute. So you should always make sure that any kind of unexpected issues, you should always be prepared for it. And if you are not prepared, use your head to find out the best possible resolution to the issue that is happening. Do not panic. Then okay, so you also can go for impromptu speaking while you are doing public speaking. Okay, so when you are actually delivering a speech, what you can do again. So when you're actually delivering a speech, what you can do is go for impromptu speaking. So what that actually shows about you to the audience is that you are very well prepared with the content, and you know more than the slides that you're showing them. So when you go impromptu, that means that you have a very deep understanding about the subject and you are able to speak to the audience from the heart and the knowledge that you have, and that kind of gets the audience engaged with you again. Seek and utilize the feedback of the audience. Now that's very important. Not everybody is a professional, and even the professionals need to work on feedbacks, because not everybody is perfect, right? So make sure that whenever possible, you get the feedback, instant feedback, or some kind of feedback from the audience that helps you improve your skills better for the next time. Don't think that you are able to give this particular public speech once, or this presentation once or twice or 5 or 6 times, that you know the deal. You might not. You'll be surprised at times where you might feel nervous at at certain points where you feel overconfident about things. So always take a feedback from the audience. That actually helps you work on yourself more. Now this other point is about critically analyzing other speakers, because that actually helps you gain more perspective and helps you gain more confidence with your own self and your level of delivery. Because if you see the level of the speakers, if it is high, then you aim to, or you strive to go higher with the kind of delivery that you're going to make when you are going to speak. And if it is lower than expected, then you already know that you have a standard and you're going to maintain that standard, or you probably go higher. So you are going to set the bar now. So always make sure that, now these kind of situations happen if you are in a situation where you're in a debate, or you're in a in a group discussion. So that actually helps the audience to kind of like that actually helps you to kind of judge where you stand and deliver better. Act and speak ethically. Now that's very important. Whenever you're delivering some kind of a public speech or presentation, make sure that and understand that now you hold a tremendous power of influence over the audience. They are going to take your word for what you're saying, and if you're feeding them the wrong or incorrect information, you are actually giving them a wrong sense of understanding, and that responsibility lies with you, that whenever you deliver something, you have to make sure that it is correct, it is not incorrect, or you don't care that after the presentation is done, who's going to be like catching hold of you and finding you and are telling you that you gave the wrong information, because whatever you're saying is probably making an impression on the people who are listening to you. So make sure that you're ethically correct, make sure that you speak with your facts right, and whatever you're saying, just be responsible towards your content. That's all for the day. I hope you liked this video. If you have any questions, just make sure to put them in the comments below so that I can answer them for you. Thanks.